Hey friends, welcome to the Church Planting Podcast. I'm Greg Nettle, and I have the privilege of serving as president of Stadia Church Planting, where we want to help you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches, intentionally focusing on the next generation of churches to reach the next generation. I'm really excited about this episode of the Church Planting Podcast because it's all about the next generation. We have two very special guests. Brittany Areh serves as the City Kids Director and Communications Director at City Church Griffin in Georgia. Robin Alexander serves as the First Kids Director at Foundation Christian Church in Noonan, Georgia. Both of these women are deeply committed to reaching the next generation for Jesus. They're going to talk to us about what leaders need to know in how to reach children, how to reach teens, how to reach young people, how to be a multiplying church for generations to come. Well, everyone, as I said up front, I am so excited about today's episode of the Church Planting Podcast because I absolutely love children and believe in the next generation. Hey, welcome, Tim Celek, our post-launch leader on Stadia. Tim, great to have you with us.
It's good to be here, Greg. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this process.
And Brittany, we talked about you up front, but man, welcome, Brittany.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. I'm excited.
And Robin, if you're listening, you can't see her. She's got these great screens in the back that say in big letters, kids, which I love. Robin, welcome to the Church Planting Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us this morning. We're pumped to be here.
Yeah. Well, Stadia is all about the next generation. And my life personally, I'm passionate about children and children at risk. And I believe all children are at risk. There's dangers and diseases that stem from poverty that we're all aware of, but there's certainly dangers and diseases that stem from prosperity as well. You all are church planters, and I know you got big things going on in your church plant. So, kids, I know, church plants is launched and kids can sometimes get overlooked or we're kind of scrambling and all of that. But you all are coming today to talk about 5 things that you wish every single church planting leader, but I think it's every church leader, every senior pastor needs to know. It's not just church planters. It's every church planting and leader needs to know. So let's just jump right in. Who wants to jump off, Tim, there with how to get this started?
I'll let them decide that, but I know one thing. When we used to do our training for planters, we would always bring a planter in to talk about making disciples in the next generation. We didn't bring in the people who are the real practitioners. So I thought, this would be the best podcast. Again, your podcast is so good, Greg. This would be the best podcast because we'll get the people who will be able to tell it like it is. And awesome. These will be some valuable nuggets. Who wants to go first, Brittany or Robin?
Yeah, I'll set us up. Like you said, we kind of sat down and were like, hey, what are some things that would have changed the shape of what we get to do in kids ministry? And so we know that most planners come in, and the reality of it is a lot of planners don't. They know that kids ministry is important, but they usually just typically hand it off to somebody else, which they totally should. But the challenge is it's really hard to build a healthy and sustainable kids ministry that doesn't just treat kids like childcare if it's not a part of the core mission of the church. And so Robin and I are just super passionate about it and love kind of getting to be in this space where we get to tell planners like, hey, here's some things that you can do to help set the tone, because the lead pastor does set the tone of how the entire church feels about the kids ministry. And so we were just going to talk through our top 5. So, Robin, you want to kick us
love
off?
that. I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us.
I'll start us off with our number 1. So our number 1 is, I'm not even joking when it comes to safety. And so safety is huge for kids. When you think about the statistics we see today about the amount of kids that will go through abuse, that will be sexually harmed, safety is so huge for kids ministry. You see it in churches. It happens, and you don't want that for your church, absolutely. And so ground level, especially if you're planning a church or if you have a church and you're thinking, hey, we're not big on safety or we don't have a handbook, let me encourage you right now, you need a handbook. You need policies and procedures. We have 50% of the kids that experience abuse, it occurs with people they know or that their families trust. And so your church does not need to be a place that one of these kids becomes a statistic. I always tell families, Safety is the first bridge we get to build towards parents. So they don't have to trust the church. They don't have to trust, like, big capital C church. They don't have to trust God yet, but they do need to trust the adults that are hanging out with their kids. And if I can't show them that we have a safe environment and I don't have rules and policy in place, they can't begin to build a relationship with Jesus and begin that journey because they're not going to trust us with their kids.
Okay, Robin, wait a minute, though. I agree 110%. However, I'm a church planter. I'm a church leader. Where am I going to get this policy manual? I don't have time to write that. I don't want to research that. I mean, I'm going to go to ChatGPT or something, right? Where do we get this stuff?
I think that's such a great question, because when we talk with our church planners, we always tell them, hey, you should not be doing this. You should make sure it gets done. You should make sure it stays updated, but you need to find someone, whether they're on your launch team or in your community, that's good at this kind of stuff as far as like policies, procedures. Also, every church around you should have one. So ask every church around you, can I see your handbook? Can I see your handbook? And then you get to pick and pull for your church. Hey, this is really important. This is really important. And I think the really big thing is, you have to update them. You have to stay updating them and make sure it's current. New research comes out, new policies comes out. I mean, the majority of, I think 50 states, over half of the states in America require clergy to be mandated reporters. And so you've got to know that as a lead pastor of your church to make sure your ministry is doing it. And then how do you have accountability to execute that as well?
Okay, so you, Brittany and Robin, you all both have handbooks, and we'll drop this in the podcast notes so people could email you, and maybe that could be a starting point that they could get your handbook notes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number one, safety. I think that's the ground level that we start with, right?
For sure.
What's number two, Brittany?
Number two is leadership. It is very difficult. If you look at the numbers tell a story about kids ministry. Only 30 to 35% of people who are kid ministry leaders stay at their church beyond 5 years. So Robin and I kind of sit in that minority in that way, that we've been doing it a little bit longer than that. But the average tenure for a kids person at a established church is like 2.5 to 3.5 years. At a church plant, it drops significantly. And so one of the main reasons for that kind of stat is because of burnout. And so as a lead pastor, you have to do the work of making sure your kids person is set up in a way that they don't experience that burnout in the first 18 to 24 months of them doing their job. And so how do you give them a team? Just like you're as a lead pastor, you need a team to run your church. How do you give your kids ministry leader a way to really run the kids ministry in a way that they can delegate responsibilities, they can delegate relational capacity, and lead people well in the job that they have to do. At City Church, we call it a table. So who's sitting at your table? Who's giving you feedback? Who's helping you delegate responsibilities? Who's helping you lead other people? Because the longer you go without having a leadership team in your kids ministry, the faster you're going to reach burnout. And so how do you set your kids ministry person up as a lead pastor to have those people that are around them that are helping them kind of divvy up the burden that is kids ministry, because you want to do it well and you don't need your person at the top of your kids ministry doing everything. And so I think that's something that would have helped Robin and I from the very beginning. Like, how do we position ourselves to lead people well and not just make everybody on our team taskmasters and we're in charge of everything and everybody has to report to us? How do we give them space to kind of have some responsibilities and help us carry that load? And so,
so I agree with what you're saying. Having served as a lead pastor in church plants and beyond, just like Tim did. Talk to me about the kind of leader, Brittany, that we're looking for, first of all, in our children's pastor, because one of the challenges is, as I remember in our early days, we made, a couple hires that, I love kids and we're going to really do this. But the reality was the leader we hired or the leader we recruited as a volunteer just loved kids and didn't have the ability to lead a team or to develop a team. Yeah. Can you talk about who we should be looking for? Because doesn't it have something to do with burnout as well?
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. You hit the head on the nail. Like, people, when they're thinking about kids ministry, they think about people who love kids, and that's great. You need somebody leading your kids ministry that loves kids 100%. But what you really need, and I think we've identified this at City Church, like you really need people who can lead other people. And if you seek out a kids ministry person that only loves kids and they want to be in the kids and they want to do the crafts, and that person's probably going to experience burnout a little bit better. So when you're identifying people to lead your kids ministry, you're looking for people who can carry a vision, who can cast that vision to other people, who can get them excited about what they get to do in kids ministry, get them excited about your church's mission, and can lead other people towards that through your kids ministry. It's just an extension of what you're doing at your church at large. And so you're looking for those people who love adults, who value kids ministry, but they're not afraid to lead other people as well.
Robin, how big would you say the team is that you lead? Like, how many people do you have involved in your kids ministry leadership?
Leadership wise, right now we've got about 5, and 6 if you include the one person on staff as far as like upper leadership. And that helps lead our team of, for subs and stuff. We have around like 80 different, and that's including students and adults, 80 to 90 people.
That's what I'm talking about. This is the biggest team in the church. You better have somebody in there that, I think that one of the most important things, Tim, what did you do as a church leader? And you planted your church, it grew to thousands of people. What did you do to elevate, the children's ministry, as the leader of the church?
Well, one of the things, I don't want to steal their thunder, but one of the things we wanted to make sure that that people who served in children's ministry, whether a leader or a volunteer, that they actually loved kids. We didn't try to twist people's arms. We didn't bring a little kid up on stage and say, "Look at Johnny's so sad, and if you don't volunteer, Johnny's not gonna have anybody." Yeah. So we were trying to be. We wanted people, to their point, leadership. We wanted people who loved kids to be with kids, and we don't want to shortchange that whatsoever.
Okay, and we all know the stat. We've heard it. I hope you've heard this stat over and over and over again. Certainly in the United States, and it's pretty true most places around the world, 85% of those who make a decision to come to Jesus do so before the age of 18. Mm-hmm. And so I would always say, as a leader from up front, hey, this is the most important ministry we have going in the church. We should never have to be begging from up front for church leaders to step into children's ministry. There should be a line waiting to work in, because that's where all the action's really happening. So safety, leadership, what's number 3?
Number 3 is serving. So if we don't make a place for the next generation now, they won't stay later. And this is specifically about kids and students serving in our churches. And so per the Pine Tops report, this is a great quote. We use it all the time around here from Foundation, and it says, "The practical cause of disaffiliation is that their understanding of the person of Jesus from their childhood and their teen years was not sufficient to keep them in a relationship with him into adulthood." And I think it's huge. When we look at the statistics of kids that walk away from faith after they're 18, after they get out of the house, it's huge. And so how can we make sure that kids see the work of Jesus through their own hands, and not just be told about it, not just read the stories from the Bibles about it, but actually give them experiences that they can grow up seeing how to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Okay, wait, Robin, I want to stop you right there, because that was so important. Would you just repeat that one statement one more time? I want that to sink into everybody.
The practical cause of disaffiliation is that their understanding of the person of Jesus from their childhood and their teen years was not sufficient to keep them in their relationship with him into adulthood.
Man, just everybody listen to that. Let that sink in.
And so I think that's huge. When you think about, it's not babysitting on a Sunday morning. It is a ministry where Sunday is 1 hour a week. So there's 167 hours outside the 1 hour that we need to make sure that Jesus isn't a 1 hour Sunday thing, but a 167 thing. So how can we get them involved in serving? So we have kids in both of our ministries. That elementary school, if they're there for 2 hours, they're serving in that second hour. We're putting them in rooms with kids. We have student volunteers that serve in our teams. We both have ice cream trucks, which shout out to any churches out there. Get an ice cream truck, hand out free ice cream. It's the best thing you can do for your community to begin to build relationships with people. We have different events that we do. We let kids serve and teenagers serve at all of them.
Okay, wait. So Tell us about this ice cream truck. You hand out free ice cream. So that sounds like, I'm a church planner. That sounds expensive to me. Where do I get an ice cream truck? And like, do you have that open on Sunday mornings?
Yes. Every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday morning.
Yeah, there's a guideline of like if it's below 40 degrees or raining or something, that we try to close it. But I think even when it was snowing in Georgia in the spring, we still kept it open. Because the kids
Seriously, we literally just built a patio from our front door to the ice cream truck so that people could walk out the front door, walk on concrete to the ice cream truck on Sunday morning. It's important. It's a big deal.
Very important.
Jim, did you have an ice cream truck?
No, they didn't have ice cream trucks in the 80s and 90s, man.
I never had an ice cream truck either, but I wish we did now that I hear about this, and I love
it. But just so we're clear though, their ice cream trucks are, and that's not the point of today's podcast, but their ice cream truck is literally a conduit into the community, because that truck is at all kinds of activities everywhere, constantly making inroads into the community, especially for children.
You have your teens and they're serving the ice cream.
Oh, yes. We have so many kids that like we have one little boy that's been around since he was like in second grade. Now he's in middle school and he's like, when can I start driving? We're like, well, honestly, like, you got some time to go. But he wants to run the ice cream truck. Like, that is his dream job right now, is to be our outreach pastor, like just drive the ice cream truck is what he wants to do.
Okay, so I love all of this. Talk to us a little bit about, do you have teens? Do you have children? When we talk about serving, like, let's talk about on the platform in big church, if you will. Like, do they ever serve in that way? Is there a presence like where people see them in the big gathering?
Yeah.
So we have.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, we have something that we used to call Family Sunday that we now call All In Sunday, the way Foundation does, that we kind of have a Sunday where we're talking and pushing everybody towards the next generation. So we are kind of showcasing, hey, this is what we're doing in kids ministry right now. And in that space, like, the kids can come up and we get to worship, or they get to help us host, or so they have some stage time in that way when we get a chance to do that on a Sunday morning. And it's super special because the kids are always super excited for their parents to see, like, oh, this is what I'm doing upstairs when you're down here. And they have so much pride about it. But then the parents also get to see how their kids are worshiping and how their kids are interacting with Bible stories and with worship and all the things. And so it's just been really cool for us to see them showcased in that way as well.
How about you, Robin?
So we have kids that are involved on, well, I say kids, students, on the production side, the greeting side, the parking team side, stage side right now. I don't think, like, worship team, I don't think there's anyone that's in high school or anything still yet. But you never know, with the right person that can do it, we will put them up there.
I know when I'm walking into a new church plant or any existing church, I love it when there are students at the doors greeting me. And man, it just kind of is a great way to set the tone. I think there's lots of ways we can do that. I remember, when we were launching in the early days, we did this all the way through as we got larger and larger. We'd have a weekend every year where we'd invite the local school staff, the teachers, the principals. If we could get the principal there or the superintendent and the teachers, we'd have them come to our weekend gathering. We'd have them up on the platform just to pray for them. That's just to thank them and pray for them. But here's what we did. We had students and children. They were the ones that prayed for those teachers and the super. It was absolutely powerful.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It was good stuff. Okay, so we got safety, leadership, serving. What's number 4?
4 is forget everything you've ever done in kids ministry. So calendar. For me and Robin, we always like to say there's always somebody in your church who's like, man, you guys should do felt boards and kids. And we're like, no, we shouldn't. We should not be doing that. We love just to talk about, like, hey, you as a lead pastor, you have to know who you're trying to reach, who your one is, what their family looks like, what their family rhythms look like. You cannot just expect your kids person to come in and do everything you've ever experienced or everything you've ever seen in kids ministry and expect that to work. kids don't learn the same way that they have maybe when you were in kids ministry, and the kids in your community might not need the things that you've ever seen done in kids ministry. And so you need your kids person to kind of be in tune with your community in the same way as a church, you're in tune with your community and knowing, hey, here's the things that we're going to offer. Here's the things that we're going to put in on the calendar, and we're going to do them because of this. If you don't have a reason why you're doing something, it's probably not going to have as much impact. And so how can you set your kids ministry up in a way that's like, okay, we're only doing these things not because we saw somebody else do it and it went really, really well for them, but because we know that they're doing this during this season of life, and this is how we're going to reach them, and we're going to kind of meet the community needs where they are. And so making sure they understand those rhythms and are in tune with what's going on in your community and planning the calendar based off of that, not just based off simply over what you've seen.
So, Brittany, just real quickly, because you're using some phrases that people may not be familiar with. You're one, right? You just kept saying that you're one.
Yeah.
You're one.
That's
You're
you,
one.
Tim. That's you, Tim.
The question I have is, like, give me, what's the distinct, and then Robin, maybe you could just be real quick with it, Brittany, and Robin, be real quick. What's distinct about the way your kids in your area are and how you have to target them differently and serve them differently? And Robin, how would that play out different in your location?
Yeah, so I think immediately like about camp. So every kids ministry does camp. We know here in Griffin that a lot of our people reside below the poverty line. And we know that a lot of our parents and families don't send kids away for camp. It's just like a first time thing. They've never done it. They've never experienced it. So actually me and Robin, we go to the same camp in the summertime, starting this summer. But the way that we've approached it completely different because we know who we're trying to reach. So like I had to reach out, and we got people who would do scholarships for camp to send kids to camp and cover that cost for our families because we know that that's what our community needs, and that's how we're going to be able to meet them where they are. We had to start off small with camp. Like we had to start doing some local things before we could build trust in our community to be able to have parents comfortable enough to send their kids away for 4 days with us. And so just knowing like, okay, this is how we're going to do this, not because of, hey, camp maybe look different for you growing up and being a part of a church plant, but for our community, this is how we interact, and this is how the families kind of interact with that kind of thing. That's a pretty practical example for us.
Okay. How about you, Robin?
Yeah, I think with Foundation specifically too, we have a wide variety of families who are very new to faith and families who have been established in faith. And so finding how each parent needs us to meet those needs. So a stay away camp for those who are new, they don't want to send their kid there. They're not even sure they fully believe in Jesus yet. Yeah. So we also offer like a camp here that we host at our building where it's drop off. We call it Art and Science Camp. It actually just launched today for registrations. We do 250 kids in the community. And so it fills up every year now. It's incredible. But like, I can't just do one or the other. I've got to do both to bridge that because what parents are looking for specifically is experiences for their kids that are better than the ones they had as a kid. And so how to give their kids something that is fun, engaging, meaningful that they talk about all year long. And then we'll meet their needs of, hey, I can send my kid away. I feel very comfortable sending my kid away with strangers to, no, I'll give you 3 hours for my kid, a couple days a week.
Yeah, I love that. And, Tim, I personally don't see what's the problem with flannel graphs or felt boards. I liked them when I was, growing up in church. I learned about Jesus and Mary and the apostles that way. And I loved the devil that we had on the flannel graph board. He was cool. And no, just, my 17-year-old son, like he doesn't even know what a flannel graph is. If we were, he's in on his computer, he's digitized, he's digital native. Talk about that a little bit when we talk about knowing your audience. How much tech are you guys using? How much do you allow it? What's a good amount of that?
Yeah, that's a big topic with kids right now too, because you're seeing the shift of research of too much technology, mentally handicapping. Just the brain becoming so sensitive to that overstimulation. And so I think when we talk about it here, we want to be relevant with kids. We want to be up to date and current with them. We want to make sure we're gospel centered and all of that, and age appropriate and developmentally appropriate. So using different curriculums that have videos for lessons, the kids stay engaged more because it's like a YouTube show. So we kind of was like, that was better than a live teacher, but not allowing them to use technology in our opening time. So they're not coming in and staying on their phones or playing video. We don't have any video games around here. We're playing. We do Gaga Ball, honestly, all the time. We're playing Uno, stuff like that, and trying to manage that. Same with like the nursery and stuff. We're not showing content on there on the screen. We'll play music on there. We'll play some YouTube music videos, but it's limited. They can't do it the whole time. They're not allowed to have it up and running. To also meet parents, because some parents are like, no screens at all. And some parents are like, I don't really care. So we try to find that middle ground of, hey, we want to serve our kids well and be respectful of those parents.
Yeah, but I appreciate we got to put limits on it. But I'd be a little hesitant, like if there was a student ministry that wasn't using any technology, just because I'd be like, man, I don't know how you're going to be in touch with my son at all. And it's tough. You got to find that middle ground.
It's being relevant with kids. Like I know all my kids watch YouTube, like they video shorts, Mr. Beast, all those things. Yeah. Videos of guys in Australia dropping things off like big towers. I don't get it, but they love it. And so finding stuff that's like that engages with them will allow them to connect better with the gospel than doing something that they're just like, this is boring, I'm not engaged. So it's staying relevant, I think, is the huge thing there.
Okay, we have safety, leadership, serving, kind of knowing your audience, forgetting the past, and kind of innovating for the future. What's number 5?
Number 5 is all about recruiting. So we're all about championing the next generation, but let's save the stage for celebrating and not begging for volunteers. So when me and Brittany think about our kids' ministry experience, man, the framework we have now for recruiting, for retaining volunteers, for being good leaders to those volunteers, for equipping and discipling is so much different than when we started. And I think setting your kids person up with a system, whether it's how to do it or someone how to do it, find them some resources so that way they can begin a healthy recruiting strategy from day one, knowing I need people every single Sunday. People are also going to get sick every single Sunday, especially if they have kids. They're going to be in and out because they're sick and their kids are sick the next week. And giving them structure for that, helping them develop that, especially if you've never done it before, finding resources for that. We know that, 4 to 14 window, kids give their lives to Jesus. The greatest chance, right, is between 4 to 14. So we want to put our best effort in that. And that's making sure we have good volunteers, equipped volunteers that love Jesus. And then you also, I would say, as the lead pastor of the church, you got to think through your convictions on that. Who's serving in your kids' ministry? You've got to set that standard, and your kids person's got to agree with it and uphold it. But you got to figure out, don't set them up for failure. We don't ever want someone serving in a room that does not trust the whole Bible. And if they're not there yet, that's okay. It's just kids' ministry is not their place that they're serving.
Okay, so Brittany, what's your most effective recruiting measure?
It is, you have to give people an opportunity to see what is happening in kids ministry. Yeah. That has been the thing that I think changed the game for me and Robin. Like, if people can get a glimpse of what's going on in there in a safe way, you can most likely get them to say yes to serving in kids ministry. And so that's something that
come and see and then come and join.
Yeah. Yeah. So we both have done something called an orientation where we're just like, hey, we think that you would love to come check this out. Like, come check this out. See what this is about. See what's going on in these spaces. And then that kind of is just like breadcrumbing them to get them to say yes to serving in kids ministry. Because it truly does takes a lot of people to pull off a healthy kids ministry. And if you don't have the people to do it, then everybody, the kids, most importantly, suffer from that. And we just want to create a space where they have the chance to really encounter Jesus in the way that is important. So, yeah.
Hey, Robin, you made a statement. You said you want to save the platform or the stage time for celebration, not recruiting. Talk about that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing as the lead pastor if you celebrate the wins that are happening in your kids and student ministry. So it's not bringing little Johnny up on the stage and say, for 2 hours a Sunday, you can save this kid's life, but it's about celebrating the good things that are happening. It's about talking about it. It's about doing Sundays like Brittany does down there. They do all-in Sundays. We do all-in Sundays here. It's a little different, where we focus on the next generation. We talk about them and the influence and the impact we get to have. And so when you're highlighting and celebrating those good things that are happening, people who are sitting there that the Holy Spirit's been working on, they're going to feel, oh, I can do that. I think this is something I can do. And then that'll just give them the little nudge to take the next step to maybe say, hey, let me come to an orientation. Because that's the thing. God's working around all these people, and we know that. And he's got all of them on different paths and different spots. And sometimes it takes them seeing it or hearing about it to think, I could do that. And the Holy Spirit's been working on that. And so our job is to just help provide those opportunities for them to say yes to the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Hey,
go ahead.
I want to just be, because I know we're going to be closing here somewhat soon. So just Robin and Brittany, you've already outlasted the numbers. Like you're 5, 6, 7 years into this, right? And you love your churches, and you've been a part of it since the start, and you love your senior leaders. What are your church planters doing to show encouragement to you, like to keep you in the game? What are they doing to keep you in the game?
I think Josh specifically just does a really good job at celebrating what we're doing in kids ministry, but also setting me up and putting me in rooms and in conversations with people that can help me continue in what I'm doing. And so it's very isolating. I think kids ministry sometimes can be siloed in a way where it's just like, hey, everybody else is working on the main auditorium stuff and you're working on the kids ministry stuff. And we get siloed in that. But I think Josh has done a really good job at connecting me when he's in rooms with people who have great kids ministries going on there. He's like, hey, can my kids person connect with your kids person? Can we get this that I've seen you do well? And then helping me kind of network in that way. And so that's been so helpful, I think, for me to know that, like, hey, I'm not out here by myself. Josh thinks what I'm doing is important. He sees the value in it, and he's connecting me with other people who are also doing what I'm doing so that I don't feel alone in that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I like to tell everyone, Clint doesn't tell me no. That's he does. He does sometimes, but for the most part, honestly, he is so great about not telling me no, because in his mind, I think he's like, I picked the person to lead this kid's ministry, to champion it, to think creatively, to think outside the box. And if she says, hey, we need this, I'm going to say yes as best I can. And so I tell people all the time, Clint doesn't tell me no. He does. But for the most part, he just says yes to my hopes and dreams. We'll talk about it, of course. But he's like, I put you in charge of leading the vision for this ministry, not me. And so if you're saying this is something we need, I'm going to put everything I got behind it to get it there. And then same as Brittany, connecting with people, just bring people into rooms with us. And it's so great to have more friends and more connection.
Well, shout out to Clint and Josh, right? I mean, these are amazing church leaders. I loved hearing how much they support both of you, of course. And I know how important that is. So we have safety, leadership, serving, kind of knowing your audience, looking for that one and how to reach them, and then recruiting. Ladies, it has been an absolute joy having you on the Church Planting Podcast. One of the things I would encourage our listeners and viewers to do is reach out to Brittany and Robin if you need mentor. It's one of the things, Tim, I think that we tell all of our planners to do is don't do it alone. Get, learn from others around you and what's doing. Just don't reach out to Brittany and Robin and try and recruit them to your church, because they're not. And I know we got people listening going, man, I'm going to hire those ladies. It's not happening, so don't do that. But Brittany, thank you for being here with us. God bless you. Robin, thank you so much. And Tim, love what you're doing, man, and appreciate you helping develop all of our church planners.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Church Planting Podcast. The Church Planting Podcast is part of the Stadia Podcast Network. To find more great episodes and to see how Stadia can help you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches for the next generation, be sure to check out stadia.org/podcasts.